Welcome, Danvers, to the September 12th, 2022 school committee meeting. We will begin, as we always do, with our pledge of allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. I would like to read our mission statement. The Danvers Public Schools is a dynamic community of independent learners dedicated to respect, responsibility, creativity, and the pursuit of academic and personal excellence. This meeting is being broadcast on Danvers Community Access Television. Is anybody else in the audience recording this broadcast of this meeting? Okay, seeing none. So with that, we can get right into our agenda. And we begin with items of interest from the superintendent, school committee, or community.
Good evening. I'd like to start out with Adam Federico offering a little message of condolence for the Hurley family.
So as many in the community may be aware, we as Danvers lost one of our young people about a week ago. Dylan Hurley, he was set to return to us as Danvers High School. He was a sophomore. Going to be a sophomore. He was a member of the youth football program, and we just wanted to, we publicly acknowledged this at the football game Friday night, but also wanted to extend our sympathy and our support to the Hurley family during this difficult time, and just reiterate that we are here to support them in their time of need. Thank you.
That's a very sad event, and our condolences are extended to the family. Any items of interest from the school committee?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I would like to announce to the committee that at the end of September, I will be moving out of Danvers. I will keep the committee updated on the exact date, but a move from Danvers would mean that I do need to resign my seat on the committee. In anticipation of this, I would like to thank the committee and certainly the town for allowing me to serve this past, well, I guess 8+ years now it's been. So it's been a pleasure really working with the entire team here. And I look forward to watching the district grow with much success. So thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Before I ask for other items of interest, I just want to say what a pleasure it has been serving with you these 8 years. You and I are on the same election cycle, so we've often been out together at different things. And I was glad when you won then, and I'm glad you continued to serve us so long and so well, so we appreciate it. And I'll let other members of the committee speak to this, and then I'll have something to say about the process.
Great, thank you.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I know it's only been about a year and a half, but I have enjoyed our short time, and I've learned a lot from you. So good luck. We'll miss you.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I think I met you from afar during all of the remote learning and COVID issues. And say, as a parent at that time, I felt you asked the right questions, you pushed on the right issues, and you should be proud of your representation of families during that time period.
Thank you.
And same here, just to echo, during COVID, I thought you were a great voice on the committee, and appreciated you being on my left side for 2, maybe 3 sessions.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Thanks.
So if I understand it, Jeff, you're going to, you'll stay until, as an active member, until such time as you actually move, and
Correct.
then you would have to resign.
Yes.
All right, we have not actually had, we have not filled an open seat for over 20 years now. When Connie Pollock resigned a few years ago, you may remember that it was so close to the election that we decided to simply go with 4 members until the election. This is early enough that I think we would go through our process. So very briefly, under the town charter, school committee and board of selectmen fill a vacancy that occurs midterm. And under our policy, we have a specific method within which we fill the vacancy. And basically what we would do is ask interested persons. There's actually I don't want to call it an application per se, but it almost looks like an application that they would fill out and with a letter and express interest in serving on the school committee. We would then, at the next available meeting or potentially at a special meeting, literally conduct interviews. And what happens is you bring in people separately. They're all asked the same questions, but they're out of each other's presence, so no one has an advantage. And then once all the interviews are concluded, then we vote. And if one vote doesn't do it, you could easily have two ties for quite a bit. One vote doesn't do it, we keep voting until someone is chosen, and they can be immediately sworn in and serve on the committee. And so what we would do is, as soon as we know for certain that Jeff is in fact going to resign and nothing changes or falls through, we will get information out so it's posted at all the schools, posted at Town Hall. We'll get it to the Salem News. We'll get it to the Danvers Herald Citizen. We'll get it to Danvers Patch. We'll do everything we can so that anybody in town who's interested knows that there's an opening and knows what the process will be. The person would serve out Jeff's term through April and then would have to run again in May for their own term. So that's the process, and I'm sure you'll keep us posted as to things progress and change. But again, thank you for your service, Jeff. It's, somewhat other towns gain is our loss for the time being. We hope you do come back.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other items of interest from the school committee?
No, Alice and I have an update on the superintendent search, but that's in new business, so we can wait till then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that would be fine. Thank you. All right, so anyone from the community have anything to present to us or ask us to take a look at? All right, I don't see any. So we will now move on to information from our student representative, and I think I see a new student representative over there.
So before I turn it over to them, I just want to welcome back Reese McDonald, who joined us last year, and then we're pleased to welcome Lillian Abel this year as well, who's going to join us as our other high school student rep. So welcome, and I think they have a few updates for the committee. Switch.
Hi, everyone.
Hello,
So,
welcome.
thank you. So we just have two little quick updates, and then we had an issue that we'd like to discuss with you guys. So first, do you want to do the updates before? So our school musical, Once on This Island, started their rehearsals this week, and there's a football game this Thursday at 6:30, and it's neon night. And then we just had one thing that we would like to bring up with the school committee that us as students have noticed in our community. There is, I'm trying to figure out how to word this without being so blunt. There's an issue in our community where students are picking on people and making fun of one another, and it's hit close to home with me and Lily, and we've noticed it, among peers, in family members that go to the middle school and the elementary school, and we just feel like there's this lack of respect among students, and we just want to know what is being done or what we can do to further prevent bullying in the school systems, because I feel like we can talk about bullying as much as we want, and we have that community block where we can have these moments with our student leaders who know the school better than I feel and student life better than some of the faculty, and you can just talk about it, but it's not reaching certain students, and those students are the ones who are bullying others or picking on others, and it's just awful to have students be picked on, especially our friends, like incoming freshmen who, you know, it's the first real day of school, and they just don't want to be here because they feel like they're too scared to go to school because they feel that they're going to get bullied or picked on for expressing themselves or being themselves or taking certain classes. So as students who have dealt with bullying before and have been bullied and see it within our community, like what can we do to prevent that without just saying like, you know, let's just talk about it in community law.
First of all, this is exactly the sort of information that we're looking for our student representatives to bring to us. It's great to have the updates as to what's going on at every school, but to actually hear about issues from our student leaders and our student representatives to this committee is extremely important, and we can talk about it. So I guess what I'd like to start with is this primarily a high school issue, do you think? Is it also, okay, I see shaking heads, yeah.
No, I feel like with us, like we see it more because we've been like we go here, we see it every day, we see it in the hallways, we hear it in the hallways, but like I know personally, like I went through it a lot during when I was in middle school, and I saw the same stuff, same group of people every single day, like bullying, saying stuff, and I know like there's children like in even the elementary schools who are like who don't want to go to school, or they come home and they like are upset and they cry to their parents that they're being bullied, or so and so doesn't like me and said this about me. So I think it's in like all levels of the
Okay.
community.
Okay. Um,
Can I ask a question?
sure, please.
Well, for Reese and Lily, first, just thank you for bringing it, because I think we were trying to address this towards the end of last year as students were returning to school. We knew that there needed to be more done around the social and emotional, right? And I think, you know, for you speaking on behalf of a lot of students in the district, like, thank you for doing that and bringing it to the forefront. I'm going to just turn this to Mary for a moment, because I do know we were talking about shifting some of the workloads of the school psychologists so then they can start focusing a little bit more on behavioral issues in the schools. I know that was being more done at the elementary and the middle school area. So just if there was any sort of updates that you could provide us that might help us add some context to this discussion.
Yes, and I think what we're trying to do is really strengthen the social emotional learning part of the block. So for example, many years ago we had the Oveus bullying program. It still is in our social emotional learning lessons. But again, like you said, they're like activities that happen once, and it's not a practice that maybe continues into the real life of the school. It like happens in that block that the kids are learning it. But then to have it apply it and have it really take hold as part of the culture of the school, that didn't necessarily happen. So what we've realized through this all is that we really do need to work on more around getting to know students, like getting to know each other, know each other's identities. And that's what that identity work was being done last year, was until you understand your own identity and learn more about the identity of someone else, you can't understand each other's perspective. So we really have to do that groundwork to really have that, so the kids can begin to build that respect for one another, because that is at the root cause of all of it, is to really get to know each other and perspectives, and really value everyone that's in our learning communities, in our school communities. So I think that is like at all levels, elementary, middle, and high school, all our professional learning around with teachers has been focused on that. And I think that students might have seen a little bit of a difference. For example, at Hope Enrichment, they've started out with their restorative circles, so those circles that they're doing in the community. So that brings you closer together, because you're sitting in a circle with one another, and there's prompts to have you talking to one another and start to learn more about each other. And I think they also are doing some community block lessons as well. I don't know if they've gotten off the ground just yet at the high school, but they are coming, because we've done that work with the teachers over the summer. So I feel like there's going to be, that kind of work will take hold, I think, as we move that.
And do we have the right resources in terms of teachers, aides, counselors to continue this, I guess, right? Like we talk often about like project talks or community block, but like it's just keeping that momentum, I guess, is my question. If we have the resources to do that.
We do. We have social workers in every school, elementary school. We have 2 social workers at the middle school and 4 up here at Danvers High School. So we do have that support. We've added actually an extra one on this past school year to work at Danvers High as well, so that we can really do that support that we need to do.
Do we bring in outside speakers or outside, like
organizations.
yeah, like
Yeah.
right? Like I'm
Yeah.
familiar, like more at the corporate
Yeah.
world, and they bring in outside speakers and things like that.
We do. We have,
Sorry.
we do our athletic program. We've Atlas and Athena that we've done over the years, and we've brought in some speakers as well, and we're also looking into that. I think Adams, the community block, is a great place that we have assemblies that we're able to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I guess I want to also highlight that I think one of the things I heard from our representatives here is that we have to start framing this as a community issue.
Yes.
I think a lot of times what I hear is, well, what assembly are you running? Are you doing this program? And I think the reality is this is a community issue. This is a K-12 issue, and it involves the adults. And I think we also have to challenge our community to model the behavior that we then want out of our children. And so I think until we see that part, I think we can continue to push and add to our capacity as schools. We can continue to empower our student leaders to make statements like that. But we need to see a broader acceptance and partnership around this issue as a community.
But
And-
my mind keeps going to like the Danvers Rec, right? Like I feel like they have got such a good audience of children through camps and programs that they provide. Is there something that we can do in conjunction with the rec department in terms of making this feel more community-based versus, because I agree with you, Adam, because I often feel like schools often take the brunt of the responsibility of a lot, where we have to look inward at ourselves and see what we can do as a community to help in this.
And I think that includes being receptive to when a child does make a mistake. How do we as parents help support our child in that moment? And those are difficult conversations. But I think that if we can all sort of embrace some of that work, I think we're going to be better for it.
So is there parental work that can be done?
I just wanted to make sure that we
Yeah.
sort of, make sure that this conversation encompasses all of our partners in our community in general. I think we can,
Yeah.
there's always work that can be done. I think, one of the things that I heard from the students was that sometimes the kids or the people that need to hear the message don't necessarily hear the message.
Yeah.
And so,
Yep.
How do we do that outreach in maybe a different way? And I think that's something like that I would be interested in really listening to the students on, because they might have a better insight into how do we get that information to certain people in a different way than we've tried in the past. And so, that's certainly a takeaway. I think for me tonight is, again, I think we started this last year, really empowering students, and maybe we need to look to do that more even with the younger grades too. We're going to have some, 8th graders here, or 9th graders now, but 8th graders that did quite a lot of work and were able to have their ideas heard. So I think that's a roadmap we have to really more fully embrace as well, is really getting the feedback from the kids and figuring out, how do we use that to make changes and strengthen things as well.
And I feel like, Adam, we always look to you, and it's outside of the high school, and I want us to know that as well. Like, this is not an Adam problem to solve. This is everyone.
A community
This is a
problem,
community, right?
yeah.
Like, it's the middle school, it's
Yep.
the elementary schools.
But Adam is our
This is not Adam.
representative, so he's representing all the principals of Danvers Public Schools and talking about the challenges
Right,
that they
yeah.
face as
Can
a
I ask a
principal.
question?
Sure,
That's
please.
okay. No, and I appreciate it. I mean, obviously, community, all that other stuff. But I know we spent at least the last 2 school sessions talking about policy and the guardrails that we're creating in the schools to create a safe and welcoming environment. And why can't the adults enforce this? It doesn't sound like it's happening in silence in a corner somewhere. It's being seen, so why aren't the policies being enforced and repercussions happening to these students?
I guess I would push back a little bit and say that I think repercussions are occurring, policies are enforced, but I think it's a deeper issue than that. If we could simply consequence our way out of some of these problems, then these wouldn't be problems. I think they're deeper issues that require multiple access points. So discipline is part of it, consequences are part of that. I think, we can work on making that as clear and as transparent to kids. But I think that's, a lot of us like to say we have them for 6 hours a day.
I
And,
got you.
so I think, I don't think it's something that is simply being, looked the other way on. I think it's deeper than that. And so a lot of that work does occur, and we have to, I think part of it's consistency and keep doing it. It's not going to be a one-off solution a lot of times. They're more complex and deeper than that. And it takes a lot of stamina and a lot of courage, including from the targets. Part of this work is making sure that they come back and, if it didn't get fixed the first time, we have to know the second time. We have to know the third time. And then
But is there a hesitancy to identify the groups or the people?
there's
Instead of the
always,
main
I think
actors?
there's always hesitancy. I think we work on trying to make it more accessible, but a lot of kids are nervous about coming forward. There can be a lot of negative consequences for reporting things, and kids get nervous about that. They
That
get
was gonna
scared.
be
Yeah,
my
yeah,
question.
with the
Did-
anonymous tip, especially
Yeah,
in line at the
that's-
is that how effective has that?
I mean, I think it's a way, but I think
Yeah.
kids are still going to be hesitant.
Right.
There can be tough, social consequences or.
I feel like the girls have some more to share on that. I'd love to hear directly from them. What would you like to see happen?
Just you can slide that. Yeah. There we go.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that we have spoken about like all of the social workers in the school, but I didn't know I could go to them until you just said that. I thought that they were specifically for people that are assigned to those social workers. So, as much as they are technically a resource, most students don't know that they are there. They think they can only go to their guidance counselor, which guidance counselors can't really help as much with this type of thing. Also, the anonymous forums aren't as accessible as I like. They're in classrooms, but teachers don't tell us where they are. So we have to go to the teacher and be like, hey, we're having this issue. Can I have an anonymous form?
That defeats the purpose.
Exactly.
So is there a way we could maybe make it like an online thing? I don't know.
They didn't want it online.
The thing
actually.
about
Oh.
online is if you have a Google form, it will say like being sent from
True.
Reese McDonald at danvers.org, and then
True.
you know who it's coming from. It turns into anonymous.
Maybe everyone needs to be passed out one, and then you just keep it till you need it, and then it's not like, oh, well, Reese reported it. Like it's just like everyone has like it in their bag or whatever, and when you need it, you turn it in.
I feel like also with the anonymous form, like some people just think it's a joke, and I think maybe if we pushed a little bit with the fact that it's like a serious thing, because like you hear like jokes like when like somebody will like make fun of somebody and be like, oh, like I'm gonna report you, like anonymous thing, and like I understand like because if that's like how like you're coping with it, like that's okay, but I feel like in our community like bullying isn't taken like as seriously, and I think it comes from like that lack of respect for each other because everybody kind of just thinks that they can like what am I looking for, everybody thinks that they can just like be rude to each other because like that's a part of like the culture here, and like that's a part of life at Danvers High School, and maybe in the other schools either, I don't know, I'm a high schooler, but I think like it just all roots from like that lack of respect that students have for each other.
And honestly, for the teachers.
And that's
I'm sorry, what did you say?
And honestly, for the teachers.
yes,
I
like
feel as though a lot of the time, students, though we're told you need to respect each other, you need to respect your adults, a lot of the time, though we're told this, a lot of kids don't do that. And because of that, from my side of things as a student, I feel as though a lot of kids are disrespectful to teachers, and the teachers make jokes about it, or the students make a joke about it, and so nothing's getting done. When in all reality, it's not okay.
Has any of this taken like through social media, like how has that influenced or does it influence any of this?
I wouldn't say personally I've seen it like a lot on social media, but like in person, like people will be like at like a after school thing, and people will come and do stuff or say stuff. So you have this set of people that are seeking out like an individual or a group of people to make fun of them. Like for example, I do color guard, and last year, like, I would have stuff thrown at me. I would have stuff. I got a water bottle thrown at me from the top of the bleachers. I was like called like inappropriate words just because I did color guard. So you have that pride of working on something for so long, and then you go out and you go to display it to everybody, and then you get made fun of.
And that also happened at the football game this past week. There was water bottles thrown, footballs thrown. There was a whole bunch of stuff thrown at the football players from the other team, yes, but those are still students.
And another example, me and Lily both do Skyway, which is an a cappella group here, and we performed during one of the assemblies, and we got barked at, we got booed, and you know, we just had to keep going because it's what we rehearsed and it's like what we have to do. It's like our job for that one block. But you know, you can only tell a student so much, like, don't do that. And then
But do you see the teachers telling the students not to do it and stopping them in the middle of an assembly?
yeah, and then but then they keep doing it. So it's like you can only do so much and tell a student or a group of students so much. Like, because it goes in one ear out the other because nobody wants to listen. And this isn't an excuse, but I feel like COVID also like really set back everything because you have, you know, people's mindset stuck at 8th grade and then they miss 3 years and now they're a junior in high school, but you still have that mindset of a middle schooler and like just like being inappropriate and just being like not like you don't have that mentality that you get going through like those awkward like freshman year, like in sophomore year, and then you get to like junior and senior year and like you're more mature thinking about college. But I feel like people don't have that, and they don't have like that respect for people or teachers or anybody, and I feel like just nobody cares about one another, and it just makes you not want to like
Right, so I bring that back to like the work we are doing and spending time in and resources. And I think if you remember back to the framework that I shared at the beginning on that sense of fostering a sense of belonging and having everyone belong in this community and respect one another, and until we start doing that work, it's not going to take hold. Like Adam said, you can consequence your way through this, but until you start to work on the mindsets and working on, you know, building that respect for one another, it can't happen. Now, is it going to happen overnight through all these lessons? No, it's going to take time. It's just like building trust takes time. So it's going to take, you know, several, you know, weeks, months before that. But you'll start to see a shift, I think, in your community blocks and while we work and the more serious we take it. I know Adam worked with his team, Alex Grover, Christian Carrick, and Diane Morey. There's a committee, Will Black. And Ryan Hayes, and and they really worked hard on building lessons and getting the curriculum set for the community block. And what they did was they've held that sacred. No one gets taken out of the community block time. That time has been set aside. That kids are in there so that they are building relationships with the 2 teachers that are in the room with them, and that group of kids work together to do that. So I think that the same thing for Project Hawk now is once every 7 days. We moved it from once a month. We could tell from the beginning of last year that it was woefully lacking doing it once a month. So we've moved to one time out of every 7 days is the Project Hawk lessons. But we are looking at school climate, and that is, I think, when you look back at that framework tonight, when I show that to you again, you're going to see how those building blocks and the work we do there can start to shift the school climate.
Mr. Grover also is really good about this stuff. Like, I know me and Lily have had him since freshman year, and he's always constantly like on top of everything. Like he makes being like in this room like super safe space. Like
so we're lucky that he's leading this work for Danvers High. So
very lucky.
It's been great.
I have to say, first of all, again, you're pretty courageous to bring this up directly, and we appreciate it. It's disappointing that things don't seem to have changed very much since I went to Danvers High School, or probably since you went to Danvers High School. Just, and it's not that the school is bad, or the teachers are bad, or the administrators, or the students are bad. It's part of it, I think, is that it's a sort of a group mentality, and it feeds off of itself. And as I say, I went through what you're going through. The big difference was the lack of social media. So whatever my 9 to 2 or 8 to 2 day was like, when I get home, there were friends in the neighborhood, and it was a whole different world, and that kind of sustained you. But nowadays, there's pretty much no escape from some of this stuff, I know. Um, so we have to take it as seriously as we possibly can. I, I hope that both of you feel as though you have adults at the school that you can talk to, even if it's just for advice as to how to deal with it, along with obviously trying to come up with ways to stop it. I guess I would say two more things. One, if you can get enough students so that the critical mass of students recognize this as inappropriate, then the whole standard of behavior rises. The other thing is, I hope you will not let any of what goes on, what you hear, what people might even say to you, and what you've gone through in terms of having people throw things at you from the bleachers, completely unacceptable. And don't let it dissuade you from being who you are, because 10 or 15 years from now, you're out of college, you're in life, you're going to have built a certain kind of strength that other people won't have. That's no excuse for having to go through it, but don't let it push you off your path, because you're going to go someplace. Beyond that, Mary, let's make this something for the policy committee to talk about and dig into this, because the students shouldn't have to go through this. And I know it's cultural, and part of it, frankly, I think, is part of what's going on in the country. We have adults who are not acting in some ways any better than the students who you are running into on a daily basis. And a lot of adults, a lot of us should be looking in the mirror too, in terms of how we can help set the tone and set the path.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a
Yes, please.
recommendation as well? I've heard this for 8 years. I would recommend that this is not just a policy sort of issue. I would maybe, and I know there's only 4 now, but someone needs to chair this thread through every committee and most of the work that we do. So Danvers cares. So Robin, that'll be you, right? I mean,
We don't know, but maybe.
but yeah, well, we'll
Yeah,
assume,
no,
right?
so-
So policy, right? The curriculum, the work that we're doing, just so we have a public safety, right, update that we're giving today, right? I mean, there should be threads to this throughout all of this. So it's not the policy doing this, and then we don't understand what happens. And there should be regular updates, to the school committee on this. I mean, we're the adults here. Students shouldn't have to go through this at all. So, yeah.
I think you're right. That's a great idea, Jeff. And I will, we have a Thursday meeting of the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee, and this is certainly right, in their wheelhouse, so to speak. So I'll make sure we talk about it there too.
Great, thanks.
Anyone else? Any comments, thoughts? No? Thank you again, and we will do what we can do. Thank you. All right. I think we are at information from the superintendent.
I'm really excited today for our Danvers Pride presentation to have 2 of our students who worked so hard on their 8th grade civics project, and I invited them here tonight to celebrate the great work that they did. They actually implemented their project, they persevered. So we have with us Josie Vogel and Deanna Figurino. So we are excited. I'd love to have them get up so they can talk to you, but most students in 8th grade did a civics project, and it ended, on June 21st, 22nd, when we were last day of school, but not these young women. They persevered. They met with Jen Breaker, who I have to really give a big shout out to for all her work and helping the students get the resources that they needed so that the block party could happen. And it was such a great block party. I think several of you were at downtown and were able to participate in it, but I'd love to have Josie and Deanna come up and just talk a little bit about all the work that they did. Also, I wanted to thank Chief Lovell and Sergeant Colella. They were there they were on the detail, the duty, so they were there volunteering their time for that. And then DPW big shout out to them as well, because they really helped us, brought some of the tables down from the school district and set them up for the block party and then broke down everything. But it was a great community event. It was an awesome way to end the summer, and I just was so impressed when I was down there on the 31st. So would you like to get up and just say a few words and tell us how the experience was for you?
So we would just like to give a big thank you to all of you guys, especially Mrs. Wormers, because without you, we couldn't have done this. And yeah, you all know I told them a little bit. So originally, we started this as a class project, and our goal was to unify the community and just bring Danvers together before school started. We also wanted to kind of show a spotlight towards our local businesses. Because everything that happened during COVID, local businesses had a real hard time with that. A bunch of businesses shut down downtown, and some even went out of business. So we just really wanted to showcase them. Yeah. So we had a lot of businesses join, and we raised about
Over $1,500.
yeah over $1,500, and half the proceeds go to the Uvalde community, and the other half goes to making this yearly tradition. So hopefully we can do it again next year. So yeah.
Be a great way. Your legacy will carry on.
Yeah.
Comments from the committee?
No, it's awesome. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but I heard great things about it. I'm excited to see what you're gonna come up with your senior year for your civics project. Can you top that? I don't know. But also, we've said if you want to continue it, I know there's like a group of people who are trying to bring back some events for Danvers Family Festival, so that might be a good, people. And if you want names, I can give you names of that. But that might be like a really good thing to combination, and you could get more help and decide, how, if you want it bigger, or, what it could look like in the future if you wanted to make any changes. But nice job, ladies. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Congratulations. Be proud of yourselves. That was not an easy feat that you pulled off, particularly as eighth graders. I know many adults who wouldn't be able to pull it off. So great job. And from, I think, everyone in the community, thank you for doing it, because I think you saw a need for the community. We were talking about it just a couple minutes ago, but bringing the community together in a positive manner. And you saw that as a need, and I commend you for finding ways for us all to come together. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely, thank you. It was that's the good news story we need. Like
Yeah.
we need to, like, it's so inspiring to hear that, and when you hear and show a path for others to do that now. So now you've shown a lot of other people this is how you can make a difference and a change. And it's a lot of work, right? I understand, when we were talking before about what it took to actually do that, that's a lot of work. But the results for this community are so important, and particularly bringing people together like we just talked about. So thank you again for that, and for a lot of the other benefits that maybe are not as, on the surface as you would normally see, but thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. I mean, I saw you there. I was there with my family and friends, and Sally Cairns introduced me to you and your mom, and great job. I was impressed then. I'm impressed now, and maybe next year you'll get more help from adults like me. I'll raise my hand now and volunteer. Not a dunk tank or anything like that, but whatever you need, I'll see how I can help. Thank you.
I had a chance to drop down for a little while. Didn't get to meet you down there, but there was a lot of happiness in the air. There were a lot of people, young people especially, so dancing, having fun. Just, you could tell it was. You brought a lot of joy to people, and we don't often get a lot of opportunities for that. So thank you for doing that on behalf of all the people you made happy. So thank you.
We're so proud of you. And when I came back from the event and I saw Mr. Federico, I said, we got two people for you that is going to do some good stuff at Danvers High.
Pressure.
Thank you. Great. Have a good night. Thank you. All right, you guys can go. So I know you have homework probably on the first week of school. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right. Mary.
All right. The next update is from Chief Hubble and Sergeant Colella. And they're going to give you talk a little bit, add on to like our safety update that we gave last month.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us here tonight. Just want to provide some updates to the board and the committee about what's kind of going on with the town, with the police department right now, and with school safety. First, introduce Sergeant Derek Colella. Effective September 4th, Derek was assigned to lead the Community Services School Outreach Division. So now he's overseeing the 3 SROs in the schools and will take on the role as the Community Service Outreach Officer for the department. Derek was hired in 2008 as a patrolman. He was a school resource officer in 2012 at the Holton Middle School for about 7 years, until he was promoted to sergeant in 2019. Since then, he's been assigned as the day shift supervisor. Derek has a passion for working with the youth and being involved with the school system. So I think he's very excited to take on this new role and work with the administration. So I think we're lucky to have him on here, and Derek will do a great job as we move forward. So,
Welcome.
regarding school safety planning, as I mentioned in the last meeting, we had a meeting on August 25th for our annual safety meeting with DPW, school leadership, fire department, police department. During that meeting, we had numerous discussions to include school safety and some general operations of the buildings and the schools. We discussed enhanced lockdown drills, fire drills, and bus evacuations that would be planned this fall. And as part of the discussion was some school training for the teachers as far as the enhanced lockdown drills. So Officer Michael Chase took the lead on that. He's the SRO at Essex Tech. And on August 31st, he did a presentation here at the high school for the elementary school staff. Then on September 6th, he did a presentation for the high school staff, and on the 7th, he did one for the middle school staff. So all teachers were provided the enhanced lockdown training once again. I think it's been a couple of years since we did it as a full group, so it was good to get everyone together, everyone on the same page. Mike Chase does a tremendous job. With that, we had a discussion with Mary, and we've decided to actually have a open forum on September 29th at 6 p.m. at the Holton Richard Middle School, where we'll kind of do a similar training with parents. It will not be school specific because obviously we don't discuss too many details, but it will kind of give the parents an idea of what the teachers are being trained in, what the students are being trained in, and kind of a first-hand look at the program. Unfortunately, the high school was booked, so at the middle school, I think we can probably hold 300 to 400 people there probably still. So there should be plenty of people there, plenty of room. We'll have school administration there, our SROs, some command staff level, and probably about an hour long. People ask questions, we'll be there to answer questions for parents and go from there. If we get a huge, large response and need to do it again, we can also plan another date in the future. Something new this year we're trying with all the schools. Sergeant Colella has worked with scheduling a morning coffee with each of the elementary schools, middle school, and high school. So between the dates of September 27th and October 12th, we currently have half-hour to 45-minute blocks at every school where we'll meet with the principal, any of the administration they want to bring into that meeting. We'll have coffee, discuss any concerns in the school, find out how we can better serve the school and how we can support them as the police department. So that's coming up over the next few weeks. We're also including some of our private schools in town as well, because we want to make sure that they feel that they're connected with us as well. So including St. Mary's, Essex Tech, St. John's Prep. So we'll make sure everyone in the community knows that what we're doing and how we can work with them. Throughout the school year, you'll continue to see a presence at the schools from the police department. First day of school, we had a very large presence at all the schools, which worked out really well. The kids enjoy seeing us there. The parents enjoy seeing us there. We will be doing that throughout the school year. Last year, we did a couple of high-five Fridays with the kids. We got some really big, goofy blue hands, foam hands that we could do high-fives with. It's kind of nice because when the parents pulled up and saw the police there and saw our big blue hand, they kind of got that it wasn't really a serious thing to school, and they kind of were more relaxed. So the kids enjoyed us doing that, so we'll be doing that throughout the school year as well. Something we've done in the past, we'll continue to do school perimeter checks with the administration. So periodically, our patrol officers will meet up with the school supervisor or principal, do an exterior check of the school just to check for unsecured doors, any problems on the campus that they want to bring to our attention that we can help with. And although we still have staffing issues, we're encouraging our officers to be more involved with after-school events. Mary was nice enough to give us a list of all the sporting events for Danvers High for the fall. So we're encouraging our officers, if you have some free time during the shift, things are quiet, come down to one of the schools, get out of the car, walk around for a while, hang out with the kids, watch a game. So we'll be doing that as well. I also want to let you know it's been great work with Mary and Adam. They've been great to work with. We have weekly, if not daily, conversations some days on different topics, and it's been great working with them, and it's been great. So.
Great. From the committee.
No, I'm really excited about the partnership. I mean, I'm not even going to name all the great things you just said that you've rolled out or you're going to be rolling out. I think that, well, Sergeant Claw, I think it's great. Like, you have a great reputation with the youth over the years, so I think it's great that you're going to be in this role. You have children too, so you've seen it all. And I think that just, like the partnership piece, so it's like the police can be here and it doesn't mean something's bad. It's like we're a community effort, and I think that's really great. And maybe that also will help with also some of the school climate, seeing different community members around and different types of support. So I really appreciate like the feedback that you heard from the community and what like parents felt that they needed to really like feel safe and know what was going on with the kids. So I really appreciate everything that everyone's been doing. So thank you a lot.
We try to be flexible as well. When we had the incident at Highland School last year, the power went out. A few of us came down to school. And took off
Did you
on
teach
the,
or just
No.
We found the little
Yeah, the
scooters. We were scooting around the school in the scooters for a while, so we had some fun with the kids and stuff. So we're flexible, and when things come up, we'll work with Mary and Adam and whoever we need to make sure people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think just being part of the community, being visible, is important for these kids. I know recently we're talking a little bit about what some of the instances that happen to them when they're on the field. I heard this last Friday night was not perhaps the best showing of our community as well, and I think it's important for you to be there just to be seen and that the students know that you're there watching and, or there to support them as well. So I appreciate you taking the feedback that you heard from us in the community to come up with some good programs. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, this kind of continues certainly through Danvers Cares and others as well. And I know, Chief Level, you've been to several meetings, and that partnership with several of the, organizations in Danvers is where we come up with our best ideas, right? So it's the school and yes, safety, and it's other parts, of the community coming together. So thank you for that. I look forward to the partnership.
I'll just say thanks for the visibility. I see you everywhere, and I see your guys everywhere. All the events and things like that, and it's absolutely critical. It just echoes what everyone else said. So thank you.
Yeah, I think building a trusting relationship with the students and the parents, which is clearly what you're trying to do with the outreach that you're doing, is key. And again, maybe that presents an adult who kids can trust and come to when they have issues or if something's cooking that you folks need to know about. So yeah, I think it can make such a huge difference, and it clearly, I can tell it's a priority for both of you and for the department chief, and I appreciate that. What you're doing is going to make a big difference. Thank you.
Just wanted to add, I wanted to thank Chief Level and Sergeant Clough for all their support. My beginning time as a superintendent, they've just always been there whenever I had a question or a concern. I've been able to call them and reach out to them, and they're there in a second. So I really appreciate all the support I've gotten from them.
Right. So here's to a great partnership, Chief.
Thank you.
And
September
officer.
29th, we'll send out through the school system that date and time. We encourage you all to attend if you like. It's a great presentation, and look forward to seeing you guys there.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're back to you, Mary.
It is. This might not be.
Oh, I see a slideshow coming.
Yeah, see the slideshow coming on. It's coming on now. We open up. So, so the next I'm going to give you a quick overview of the opening of schools, which I feel like we've had 3 meetings in a month. So
we know it all now.
Presentation. So this part is quick, but I'm going to ask Lynn O'Neill, our Director of Student Services, to get up midway through and help us with it. So this time through, I thought I would share from our strategic plan our theory of action for the Danvers Public Schools, which I think is important today, given some of the conversations we've been having. So our theory of action is if the Danvers Public Schools promotes a safe and healthy learning environment that is conducive to high academic achievement for all students, and we provide engaging learning experiences that allow for student voice and choice, and that we believe all students can and will learn to their highest potential, then the students of Danvers Public Schools will become productive, responsible, caring citizens of the global community and achieve their definition of success. So it's kind of like our vision statement, but like, what are the actions we're willing to do? And this is the framework that I presented to you that we're going to be, using, and that really resonated with a lot of our administrators and teachers as to like the work we need to do and the 3 pillars that we have. So we have that building relationships. We're building the student-to-student relationships, adult-to-student, and adult-to-adult. And I think tonight's conversation really kind of helps us really understand how important that work needs to be done and worked on. The second kind of core pillar there is the value and affirm diverse identities, and really working on that inclusive environment, having strong curriculum and materials that helps people understand each other and perspectives of others, and then have school and district policies. And then finally, the third pillar is that creating opportunities for engagement, voice and choice, relevant, meaningful learning experiences, and school-based activities and traditions. So what have we done so far? So we've had a lot of professional development over the last couple of weeks. So, it really, the 3 days of the first week is the early release days, and it is 100% like building relationships with kids and kind of teaching them the routines of the classroom and building those community agreements with kids in their classroom. So we focused all our professional development on that elementary, middle, and high school. They have different aspects of it. I won't go on forever on what we did, but there was lots of that, as I explained earlier, on the community block and then the project talk. Under valuing and affirming diverse identities, we're during the first 3 days of school and continuing this week is identity work. A lot of sharing, parts of yourself and getting to know one another in the classroom. And you're setting those classroom agreements or classroom norms so all kids feel they belong in the learning community. They should be setting them with students and not just giving them to students. So kind of having them have a say in some of the rules of the classroom or how the classroom operates. And then finally, creating opportunities for engagement. We had a lot of professional learning around the engagement principles, around academics and how we engage students in our academic subjects. And then the principals work with faculties and staff to plan and implement school-based activities and traditions. So for example, today it was a Monday morning meeting at Highlands. So it's a big gathering of the school community. And as these traditions were slowly coming back in, like in the spring last year, but we're starting the school year out now and really building that community again so that we have starting out in a normal kind of school year, which we haven't had in a while. So it is fun to bring back those traditions and really get the school community together. So we had 3 early release days. We've had student assemblies where school-wide expectations were communicated to kids. Kids also were looking at the student handbooks and knowing the policies and things. We've done tours of schools for students new to a school, so they came in before the schools and got tours, or the teachers took students around the tour. I know in 6th grade they do things like that so that they get the kids acclimated to the buildings. We're having the beginning of the year safety drills are starting to come, and so you'll hear that from students, and again, and also hear from us when we have those drills. And then this week kicks off our open houses. We've got all the elementary schools are this week, and then next week the middle school and high school will have theirs. So that's kind of our landscape of the open schools. So at this point, I'm going to call Lynn up and have her give us a little update on special education.
Hi. So for those of you who might not know me, I'm Lynn O'Neill, and I'm sorry, my allergies are kicked up, so my voice is a little crazy. But I think I can power through. Okay. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm so excited to start my 2nd year with Danvers Public Schools. This is the year I told people that, last year I listened, I learned, I watched, I met people, I understood what was happening. And this is the year for some subtle changes. And so I'm excited to talk about one of the big, huge changes that has come to be, that I feel so fortunate that people approved and we were able to put this through. We have three new positions in special education and student services. We have it's a new leadership position, really at each level with a focus on special education. So these positions are called special education coordinators, and there's one for elementary, there's one for middle, and there's one for high school through age 22. And so our elementary coordinator is Eric Oxford. He comes to us from Marblehead Public Schools, but via North Carolina. He took a little detour. Eric is a Danvers alum. He graduated from Danvers High School. He started his teaching career here for just a few short years before moving on into special education leadership positions. So I feel so fortunate that he's back with us. I've already gotten really great feedback, and I'm looking forward to working with him to really streamline things in the 5 elementary schools. Kelly Mertens is our middle school special education coordinator. Kelly also is a former Danvers staff person. She taught at both the high school and the middle school before leaving to assume special education leadership positions in different districts, including Lexington and Stoneham. She's back to us from Stoneham, and she is back at the whole Enrichment. And Kelly, also has a plethora of consulting hours under her belt, and she provides PD for districts all over, our area. So I'm really excited to have that, as a Danvers bonus. So I think that's going to be a great fit. Jen Callison is our new high school special education coordinator. Jen has her PhD. She comes to us from Winchester Public Schools, where she was the out of district coordinator. She was the summer services coordinator. She did supervision and evaluation of all of the aides in the whole district. She had so many hats, it was hard to keep up. But the most exciting thing that I am so impressed with of her resume is that she is a transition specialist by certification. So she will really be helpful in streamlining our thoughts around appropriate transition for students starting in, during the school year when they're turning 14 and they have an IEP. But more than that, through her interview process, we really talked about how transition is good for everyone. And you shouldn't just be able to have transition work because you have an IEP. So what can we do to really get our students ready for whatever path they may take after they're done at Danvers High School, whether that's college ready, whether that's career ready, whether that's community-based readiness in some other way. And she has so many ideas, it's unreal. And so the work is just beginning, and it's really exciting. I jumped right into actually the new changes because clearly I was so excited about it. And I forgot to sort of say, why these positions are so important to me. So overall, we have 709 students in special education in our district. Knowing specific student needs, knowing their strengths, knowing their families is just very important to me. Establishing relationships, understanding how we can be helpful is something that drives me every day. But it's really hard for one person to know 709 students and know them well and do a really great job for each and every one of them. So this new level of special education leadership allows us to really understand students at each and every level, the elementary, the middle, and the high school, and do a really great job for each and every one of them. Excuse me. The special education coordinators will be able to respond with appropriate planning. Our team will be able to know what students need. We will be able to do appropriate services and case management and really understand the current trends for needs in special education. And instead of reacting to those trends, with this type of structure, we'll be able to be a trendsetter, which is what I want to have happen for Danvers. So the next, oh, you're already there. I had to have it here because I can't really read there, so I'm one behind. So I just wanted to point out, what this shift really entails. So previously, our school psychologists functioned as team chair people, which really was compliance driven. Really, from the meeting invitation or the referral for special education, through the meeting invitation, through the evaluation process, the school psychologists did all of that work, all of the paperwork, all of the scheduling. They tested students, they held meetings, they ran the team meeting, they finished the paperwork, and they sent it off to be signed. But more than that, they weren't able to do that sort of when students need more than just one meeting a year, when students need different thinking about their programming. The school psychologists had a difficult time. It wasn't built into their role. So the special education coordinator, that role, they will work with the building principal, the assistant principals, and the curriculum directors at each level. They will share the supervision and evaluation responsibilities for special education staff, which is something that, we think about supervision and evaluation, and that's an opportunity for coaching. That's an opportunity to build our capacity. So working with that feedback and really thinking about, giving the teachers the opportunity to have somebody that has their certification, that has lived their life, giving them feedback about their practice, it provides the opportunity to grow. The coordinators will also ensure that the paperwork, the timelines, the compliance are all within the appropriate, meet the appropriate deadlines. And they will hold in team meetings and determine eligibility, as well as project with, and all of this is, of course, in conjunction and collaboration with me. They will project trends and services for programs so that we can meet specific population needs. They will also, most importantly, really work with families to help understand, so that the families understand the special education process. Have those conversations. The school psychologists did all of these things, but this will all be at a deeper level. And the school psychologists did not provide supervision and evaluation as they're in the same teachers union as the staff. So with some of these pieces taken off the school psychologist's plate, we're really able to look at thorough cognitive, social emotional assessments. We're able to have them actively participate in the student support teams at each building. We're able to have them as a resource to the newly established school-based behavior support teams, which I just want to sort of go off on a little bit of a tangent and circle back to both Reese and Lily. So I think that your points are very well taken. I think that Mr. Federico's point is very well taken, that behavior and behavior expectations become expected or normed. And when you live in, and I'll just say this lightly, in a dysfunctional sort of environment in which sometimes behavior can take on that dysfunction, right? And then you just expect that that's how it is. It becomes normal. So our job is to really get in when students are young and to really help shape the expectations that become norms for them, so that they automatically feel like, oh no, we can't act that way. Oh no, that's not how we act. So I think that Mr. Federico's point of, like community and culturally shifting things is really where it's at. So we need to work in collaboration with parents at the younger age groups, in consultation with parents and outside mental health and social worker services, in addition to, shifting how we approach
behavior, how we talk about behavior, and how we expect behavior at a young age. So a response to that is really looking at how we use our staffing that we currently already have in a better way. Each school has what we call a registered behavior technician at the elementary school level. Each school has what we call a student support aide, in which has a different job description than a traditional teacher aide. Each school has a social worker, and each school has a principal, and our district has two positions that are called board certified behavior analysts. So taking all of those people together, we've begun to do training around how we are proactively and reactively responsive to behavior in the preschool and elementary levels, because that's where you're going to begin to shape what you expect from students and their behavior. So that includes in the moment social coaching. It includes sort of that process of helping students to understand why they've acted in a particular way. And then it's also looking at maybe additional resources that students need at a younger level. And so with this group of people working together, and these are newly established this year, we've sort of refocused their role in each building. And we had one session of training with the North Shore Consortium. And we're going to have ongoing training this year around, how we expect these behavior support teams to help give us a positive impact at the elementary school. So, I just want you to know that, this is a continuum, and we need to start, young and, build those skills, because in actuality, and this is the special education lens talking, behavior is communication. And it's not okay that it's poor behavior, but it's still a form of communication. So we need to help our younger students understand at a younger level how to get their needs met in a better way. So our school psychologists, each school also has a 0.5 school psychologist or more, depending on the school. The psychologists will be able to be a resource to those newly formed teams. So that's exciting. So I know that you talked about, Alice, around the shifting so that we could provide more support for the social, emotional, mental health needs at each building. So that's one way that that's happening. So an important piece is to provide teacher consultation so that teachers know what to do. Just like we teach younger kids around, is this a level 1 problem or a level 10 problem? We also need at times to provide resources for teachers to understand, is this a level 1 response for behavior in the classroom, or is this level 10? So how can we help understand that and really calibrate that across the 5 schools? And our school psychologists are going to be instrumental in that work. Then, of course, we're going to expect the school psychologists to continue working collaboratively to support students' mental health and social emotional regulation across the school day with their colleagues. So, okay. So I don't know, before I go on, if you have any questions around that, or I can talk about our ESY summer programming.
No, let's talk about the new special ed structure for a minute. Yeah. Why don't we start with Gabe?
No, thank you for all of that. My immediate question is, this is all fantastic work, and I'm wondering if it will contribute to reducing the out-of-town cost for special education, if this is going to have an impact on that.
So I'm hopeful, yes. So I am hopeful. I will tell you that, the trends in out-of-district, movement really are around social emotional behavioral needs over the last 2 years from Danvers. Danvers does have, I came last year and I said, I can't believe how many out-of-district students we have. This is disproportionate. I need to see the breakdown. I need to see who's out of district, for what purpose. There are a significant amount of students who have very complex needs, who require something beyond, what Danvers Public Schools can offer, that do not have anything to do with mental health or social emotional needs. But we have had a huge movement of students who have social emotional behavioral needs that have been so severe that they've needed more than we were able to provide. My hope is that the further that we are into routine expectation and post COVID, where school years weren't what we expected, that itself will help regulate students. Students came to us over the last 2 years not understanding how to do school. They didn't understand how to be a student. They didn't understand how to take direction from an authority figure. And that's a kind direction. That's a pleasant, with a smile, but still did not understand how to do that. So our hope is that these teams, the school-based behavior support teams, it's so new that I can't get the title down, that will be helpful there in really working with the preschool, the kindergarten, the grade 1 to help little students understand how to do school. It's exhausting, and we recognize that. And if we can look at behavior through the lens that, it's a skill deficit, it's a communication need, it's, that's where we need to focus our efforts. And then I'm hopeful that, yes, in the end, the outcome will be that we are more prepared for our student needs and that we're able to keep more students in district.
Thank you.
I'll say good. Jeff.
Yeah, this is a good example of kind of the theme we were talking about before too, right? If it's some of the bullying or something else, then there is a thread that goes through this and helps support those issues as well. I just had two sort of thoughts on this. One is when I heard you talking about, start the education young with students so that when they progress, they're good citizens and helpful rather than, hurtful. So my question was then, so if students come into the district, do we have a lot of students who come into the district who have not been exposed to that? That was going to be my question. But then I thought maybe a better question is, well, whether or not that's true, if the students who are here are not welcoming to the new students, then it doesn't matter what the new students, however you want to define that. If we don't have a welcoming environment for new students, then that could also be a problem. So I don't know if there's a question in there or if you have a kind of a thought on that, but I sort of feel like we've tried a lot to be welcoming, but if some of the examples we've seen where new students are coming in and they don't feel very welcome, that's, I don't know, what's your kind of initial thought on that really quick?
So I would say, yes, we have students that move in pretty regularly, that definitely shift, when students move in, it shifts the dynamic. I would say that, for the most part, I believe that students are welcoming. I think that there are some factors that come into play. I think that we talk about it, but we don't understand it yet. The impact of trauma on our students that we presently have in district and who move in. And I think that that's difficult. That's difficult to pinpoint what's going to work because what worked on Monday may not work on Tuesday. So there's a lot of work to be done around that. The other piece is around the bullying and harassment piece that at times, we don't always understand the deficit that those students bring with them each day. So it's twofold that when part of our special education structure, we talk about bullying at every IEP meeting. We talk about it through the lens of that the student we're speaking about could be bullied, but that they also could be the bullier due to their disabilities because of the lack of understanding of how they're perceived or their lack of social perception, or their lack of communication skills, their lack of affect. Um, so, there's lots of education to understand. I I will say that something that is a future topic, and I know that I also have Cpac on here, so I will get to that as well. Um, a future topic for Cpac, which came up in a couple parent meetings that I've had recently, is a program, excuse me, at the younger grades that other districts do. So when I was in Wakefield, they had a homegrown program. And it was called LAD, and for the life of me, I can't figure out. But it was a disability understanding, understanding disabilities program that they did at the early grades in the elementary school. My own hometown does one that's more like of a curriculum based. You purchase it. It's understanding disabilities, but it's parent run. It's volunteer. So you come in and you do the assemblies with the younger grades so that the students begin to understand that everybody brings something with them and everybody has a need. So that we practice understanding, we practice kindness, we practice respect, we practice acceptance. So that's on a future agenda for me to talk with Cpac about, around how can we do that in our younger grades. Because I think that, through that work, through respect, through acceptance, through inclusion, through empathy, we're going to get to a space where, that welcoming happens. If you're practicing all of those characteristics, the welcome environment is innate. So.
That's good. Thank you for that. That makes sense. The one thing, and this is just more of a statement, when you were talking about the different levels of coordinators and sort of administrators who were helping with this process, one of the things that kind of struck me is every so often, we'll get letters from either the community or others who say, gosh, you got so many administrators in school. Why do you have so many administrators? And the comment I would say about that is, what I like about this piece is that, and I've said this over 8 years, I want to make sure that the teachers are seeing some benefit for this, because I feel like, we could have added 2 teachers in an elementary school, but when I see you're working with teachers to, alleviate their time or free them up for time or have them have a better relationship with students, then absolutely those, sort of the coordinators and the psychologists are absolutely 100%. And in particular, if, students are changing and they have more trauma, and we heard about no respect for teachers, if this is going to help with that, then that would be fantastic. And I think an ongoing sort of update would be, if teachers have an update and say, yes, this has helped with some of that respect, or, look, we maybe need to do something else. I don't know, but I would support that as well.
I would definitely love to come and give an update towards the end of the year. Currently, this is the first full day of school, and we're having some growing pains with sort of understanding, the separation of roles, and trying to really, I want everyone to feel valued, and, we're shifting some things. It doesn't mean that somebody wasn't competent at what they were able to do. It's just that we want their focus to be somewhere else now. So, I think the feedback's been really good so far. We tossed around, what is a good sort of title for this role. And this is, while they are administrative level, just because I want that supervision and evaluation piece, because I think that is only fair to the special education staff, because, someone might have had a special education certification prior to becoming an assistant principal or a principal, but for the most part, no one knows the role of a special educator unless you have that certification. And special educators deserve the same, thoughtful, I can't think of the other word that I was looking for, but thoughtful feedback that all of our gen ed people have. And so we tossed around something like coach. This is really a coaching role. This is really so that teachers can have a sounding board to think about things, in a different way for their classrooms and for their students. And so while it does have that administrative sort of tag for that supervision and evaluation piece, it's really more of a coaching role.
Thank you.
My daughter was part of the preschool program at Riverside as a peer, and I will say that that was the best decision I've ever made as a parent, because she's learned empathy through that. She's learned understanding, and I wish I could replicate what she was able to just organically understand in every single school setting, because it's invaluable, I think, for students to see that and understand that. So I mean, I think we can pause and just celebrate the preschool program, because I do think it is something that is going a long way for those students that are able to be part of that program to
Absolutely.
our peers. I guess my thought, I think it was Reese who brought it up, and she brought a really good point up where the behavior of some of these high school students almost reflect where they were pre-COVID, right? So some of these students were in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. COVID hit, 3 years of just not having a solid, a normal school day, if you will. So, my biggest concern as I sit here is, what about those students who probably could benefit greatly from, some of just the language that you're using, right? Like, just to hear some of that language and understand it. Is there anything that, we could do at the middle or high school level as well?
I mean, that's a really good point, and we can certainly, I like a good brainstorm, and I like to the problem solving, as when I jump into the ESY programming, I will talk a little bit about our a shift that we made this summer around our moving from straight up tutoring for 95% of our tutoring kids to an academic enrichment model. And and that was, I think it's good practice, but I think this past summer in particular was a really good move for precisely what you just outlined. Now, we only did it through grade 5, but I think providing that more consistent experience in the summer was helpful to really have students, like really solidify what it means about being a student, around behavioral expectations, keeping up with that routine so that people didn't slide back into, their old ways. So, that we did not do it, at the middle school and the high school, but it's something that we could always.
Well, the behavior team at the middle and high school are the principal and the assistant principals, and I have to say that the assistant principals really have worked over the last couple of years to really build that restorative part. So when a student, breaks a rule or behaves badly, they work with that student to understand the behavior that they did and how that harms someone in their community, and like starting to think about how do you reinstate yourself, how do you get back into the community, and how do you repair that. So that we built on that this summer, and that's how we did the restorative circle training. So I feel like the principals and assistant principals take that. I think actually they were the idea of, we need a team at the elementary. There's only one principal at an elementary school.
Absolutely.
And at the middle and high school, there's a team of 4. So how do we go with the curriculum director? So how do we replicate that team, but at the elementary level? So that's where the behavior technicians and the student support aides, like that, all kind of gel together based on what we had at the middle and high school.
And when your point, I automatically went to services, and that's why I was talking about the academic enrichment, but the actual structures that are in place, absolutely, how Mary described. So
I forgot what my next question was. I forgot. Come back to me. It was a good one.
No, I'm happy that special education has more support, because I think that's always an area in districts where there isn't enough support. Special education teachers are asked to do a million things. So I'm happy about that support. Just one question I had, or it's more of an observation. So I know that the special ed coordinators are like coaching, just to like think about as the role takes more form. because if they are also evaluating, like to try to, so if I'm coming to you as a teacher, I'm venting as coach, but you're also evaluating me. So like, just I don't know if that down the line could
Right,
cause
which
some
is
complications.
right, which is why so coaching's just one part of their role, that's why eventually we landed on coordinator,
Yeah.
because it does have that twofold. I in other districts they do have a similar roles, and it does become sort of this free form. You're together so much. The coordinators are running eligibility meetings, staff is there, so it's a natural sort of option to give some feedback after. And I've found that if you have the right personalities of people in those roles, they're able to do both of those things with respect, and fidelity.
Yeah. No, thank you. And then the other thing is, I know we talked a lot about co-teaching, so this might, with this additional role, might be able to really help, because I know you have an idea about a model that I think, most of us are excited about, but it hasn't been able to be implemented. So
We
this
have
might be
made
great.
it's not on my slides, and I'm sorry I'm going off again. No. And I would love to come back and we can talk more about the other pieces that are happening.
Yeah.
But we have started to shift to something called a supported classroom, and right now it is there are pockets of supported classrooms at each building at the elementary level, because of course there has been co-teaching at the middle school and the high school, and so we're really looking to bring more of sort of that layer of support in pushing that in to the general education
Yeah,
classroom at the
fidelity.
elementary, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we have started with supported classrooms. We've already done one meeting with teacher aides, and explaining what the expectation is when they are in a classroom supporting all students, and that they are working under the direction of the special education teacher, in collaboration with the general education teacher. So we are starting that. Again, this year is sort of the building year, and my hope is that we'll expand that next year.
Did you think of it?
I did. I did. I think I keep hearing training, all this professional training that's happening. I think as a parent, I would love to understand the training and know what training is happening, because even if it's language that we can use at home or language that we can reinforce, I would love that opportunity. So even like, is there an opportunity for you to market some of the training or some of this outside of your updates to us, whether or not it's through ConnectEd or in the superintendent updates, but providing us as a community that resources even for us to access ourselves as well. Yep, that's
Yes.
true.
That's a
Well, but
perfect
that's
outlet.
the thing. Like, I don't want this to feel like it is just for those families. Do you know what
Well,
I'm
and
saying?
to your point, I think around your daughter and her experience in preschool, that is my stance on an integrative, inclusive model, supported model, that it is a benefit for all students, and not just our special education students, but our typical peers, that each group learns from one another, and those lessons are really important. So just jumping on that, where the sense of belonging, the theme of belonging, that you are one group, this is your class, this is your class at Thorpe, or this is your class at the middle school, and then this is your graduating class, and it's all for one and one for all. And I think that can happen. So
Also, I had a perspective from it goes way back, unfortunately. And when I was first elected to the school committee, there was parents were greatly concerned about special education. This is like 20 years ago, and I think there was a sense among parents that we were okay at process and checking all the boxes, but delivery and really reaching students wasn't necessarily going well. Again, this is 20 years ago. A generation has changed since then. But it was always an interest. And 5 years ago, my two stepdaughters moved here from Colorado. And you probably know Sky and Piper, or have heard of Sky and Piper. They just aged out of the program.
I know.
And
all the
I
time.
have to tell you that as a parent, number one, I now understand how anxiety ridden parents feel when they have a child with special needs of any kind, especially as they get older and transition, because you're thinking, what's next? Where are they going to go? And so I think that this change in structure can be transformative, not just at the high school level, but at all of the levels here. Because I tell you from my observation, the teachers, the people working in these programs are truly doing God's work. They are devoted, and I'm sure this is the same at the middle school and the elementary school. It is a calling to work with special education students. It's a calling to teach generally, but the level of heart that you have to have and thinking on your feet and getting to know students and families with parents who are more nervous than any other parent probably because of what the future might hold for their students. So you've got a great staff, I think, to build on. And by adding the resources of professionals to coach and come up with ideas and help, and especially a transition specialist, really can be transformative on that end, and freeing up our psychologists when we know that every year we're seeing more and more students with the emotional and behavioral issues. And you're right, that's leading to a lot of out-of-district placements. You're absolutely right. And if we can do anything at when we first get students into our system to set that path, and through use of our psychologists and building programs, et cetera, it's going to save us heartache in the long run. Forget the money piece of it. It's the heartache for these students and their families. So I really think this can be amazing. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right.
Just gonna
On to
continue right
summer
into our
programs.
update on
I have
EYS.
yeah, it's so funny. So Danvers, so I'm trying to conform. Danvers calls summer services EYS, extended year services. I have always called it ESY, extended school year. So I really am trying to conform to EYS. So the EYS summer programs 2022, we really had a successful summer. And it was my last bullet, but I'm going to say it right now. The summer programming would not have been what it was without our two coordinators, Kim Silva, who is a social worker at Riverside, and Bethany Stangus, who is our early childhood coordinator. I will tell you, they are two majorly type A personalities who are so organized, so scheduled, so on it, that it's wonderful. So I am so thankful for them, and the summer wouldn't have been what it was without them. So overall, we serviced 288 students utilizing the Smith School for the summer, with one exception. Our 18 to 22 program remained at the middle school because it was more centrally located for some of the community-based actions and activities that they really wanted to keep up with throughout the summer. But everyone else was at the Smith School. 75 of those students were preschool-age children. There were 61 that participated in the program, and then the remaining students came for services only, like speech, OT, PT. Building skills early always makes for positive outcomes, which is great. 95 of those students participated in our new academic enrichment program. So this academic enrichment program focused on each day, each session that they were in session, they had a reading, a writing, and a math session, and each session was 3 hours long. Students came for 2 days. They either came Monday and Wednesday from 9 to 12, or Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 12. They also were able to have an art class scheduled once a week, so it wasn't all work and no play, which was great. The academic enrichment model gave a more robust, comprehensive experience over the traditional like 1 or 2 or 3 sessions of tutoring for 45 minutes or an hour, during the week, which, that tutoring is great. But it's very difficult on parents for planning for summer. I mean, when my kids were little, I didn't work in the summers and I was excited to have field trips every single day with them. So when you have an interruption of, Tuesday from 9:45 to 10:45 and Thursday, 8:30 to 9:30 you have reading, it sort of interrupts that sort of summer living. Something more consistent, something more robust, really focusing on all of those pieces was a welcome change for many families. At the middle school and at the high school, we did still have students who were doing the traditional tutoring, but for K to 5, the academic enrichment was a really nice option. So the next slide, our social skills program at the elementary level and the middle school level was had much larger numbers this year, as you can imagine. So the social skills program really concentrated on, students who, may have social emotional needs, some regulation needs. So we had larger numbers, and I will tell you also the staff that worked in those programs, Chris Smith from Highlands, Margaret Speck from Great Oak, Maureen Carroll from Thorpe. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but they were unbelievable with their creativity, their ability to be flexible and shift how what they were doing as practice each day to make sure that kids were safe, comfortable, learning was really phenomenal. Our transition program, 18 to 22, also had larger numbers. They had a great summer. I love it. They are out and about and they are more independent and they have a really great time. They were able to coordinate with other districts, 18 to 22 programs, do some bigger trips. So it was really great. And again, thank you to both Kim and Bethany for their hard work. So I have an update on Special Education Parent Advisory Council, Cpac, so I can go right into that, or I don't know if you have any questions for EYS.
Any questions on the summer programs? No.
Okay.
Fire away.
So our Special Education Parent Advisory Council, we have 4 lead parents. We have Amanda Ballant, we have Amanda Daniels, we have Susie Saldani, and we have Jen Nikitas. They are our mainstay of, planners and organizers, and I feel very fortunate that we have them. We have some upcoming events. In September, they are going to the orientation nights at school. They're not sure that they're going to be able to staff every single orientation night, but they are making an effort to try to be at as many as possible. I've listed the parents here in case anybody wants to reach out to them directly. They're always looking for new members, and they would love it if at the orientation nights, if anybody happens to see them, that if you stop by and say hello, ask questions, they are a valuable resource. So in October, the planning is underway to have a session of effective communication, have an effective communication panel, an evening of collaborative conversation. Some of the targeted presenters are, me. Some of the principals are special education coordinators, some school psychologists, perhaps a parent attorney or an advocate. The parent attorney is really a great resource for students or families who are in need of guidance around guardianship or other advocacy needs. And, the school nurses would always be a good resource. So that is underway. The date is to be determined. In December, Cpac will hold a Zoom workshop with the Federation for Children with Special Needs. The topic selected this year is Understanding the IEP. They have different topic options. Last year, I believe that they did one on transition. So other things to watch for, in March, the Cpac is planning their annual resource fair. They typically do this in September or October. Um, However, they feel as though it's almost, parents are settled for the school year by September or October. They have plans, they have activities, they have therapies, daycare, after school things already set for the school year. So they've flipped this to try to be a resource in the spring to help families set up structures for the summer and then the incoming, school year. And so that will be happening in March. In May, we are hoping to present a parent workshop on student needs around anxiety and self-regulation. Details will be coming soon, but I also have made a note around marketing some of the training or the language or some resources and tools for parents to help foster what's happening in school, so I can talk with them about that. So to contact Cpac specifically, they do have a new email address because the other one I just was unmanageable, I guess. So they have a new email address. It's cpacofdanvers@gmail.com. And so they encourage anybody who'd like to reach out to them to use that email address. That's the one that's monitored. And notice of the presentations or any of the upcoming activities or resources will always be can always be found on their Danvers Facebook page, which of course I couldn't find the title to because in the walls of the office I can't get Facebook, so I don't know what it's called. But they do have one and they are easily accessible through that. And of course we send out communication through the district when anything is happening and we want people to attend. So.
Wow. Any questions, thoughts, comments, or can we let Lynn go?
She gave us a really robust presentation. So
Thank you, Lynn. That was great.
Thank you.
All right, so let me get back. Thank you again, Lynn. Unfinished business, nada. New business. Oh, maybe that's us.
For you.
To appoint a delegate. Aha, there we go. To an alternative to represent Danvers at the NASMC conference in November. Is that back live this year? Do you know?
It's back in person.
Will there be remote options or no? Or do you know?
I don't think so. I think it's
It's down the Cape, I think, is a typical. All right. So, anyone interested in going to the Cape from November 2nd to the 5th or whatever days the voting is? Jeff, I imagine you're
I'd
probably
love to
out.
go, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like Ferris Bueller's teacher.
No,
Anyone?
I will gracefully decline.
Okay.
I voted last year.
Yes, you did. Yep. Yes. All right. And I think maybe we'll have to come back to that one.
That sounds
Okay.
good. That sounds good.
That's a great question to ask the new folks who are applying.
There you go. Yeah.
Not a requirement, but
Highly recommended.
highly
encouraged.
recommended. Yeah.
In all seriousness, it's a great program, and you take something away from it, absolutely. But yeah, I know for all of us who are working full time, and it just is a Friday to Saturday typically sort
It's
of.
Wednesday to
Wednesday.
Saturday.
Yeah, but is the voting I think on?
I think the voting was on a Saturday last year.
Yeah, it might have been.
That was the
Yeah.
And it was Saturday 2 years ago. I did it by Zoom in November, I think, when I had it. Yeah.
I think the bulk of it is like Thursday and Friday is the bulk. I think like it's a transition Wednesday down to it, and then Thursday, Friday is the conference, the meat of the conference, I would say.
We'll
'Cause
come
you
back
can
to
go
that.
for one day too.
And superintendent's evaluation, student learning, and professional practice goals. Mary?
I actually moved this up. I feel like October's gonna be quite a packed. It could be a packed month, so I was just trying to move this up to share my goals for the year. And actually, I already shared my student learning goals with you last month. Again, going back to our framework, I'm gonna keep bringing this up, but I think this it does help us get a context for the work. So I presented 3 goals in the district improvement plan to you, and I just wanted to give you a little context for how we're going to measure that. And so every year in MCAS, they have a student survey at the back of the MCAS test in grade 4, 5, 8, and 10. And it's called, and when the survey's done, they present us with what they call vocal data. And and the vocal data gives us information about school climate. So, you know, as the girls brought up information, this survey is perfect for helping us see if we've had gains in those areas. So we're really looking to use this data more than we have in the past, and we started digging into it in the summertime, and look forward to upcoming EC meetings when we dig in further. So school climate's the overall. They give you a score for that, and I'll share that with you in a minute. But they also have areas, 3 different areas that you look at: engagement, safety, and environment. And I really think that when you look at this list and you go back to this green framework, you're going to see there's like a lot of overlap between the two frames. So this is a perfect measure for us to use and use the survey. I also want to say that as we've transitioned in Danvers Cares too, this year, and we're not having a meeting in September, we're having a meeting in October, we're going to be looking at the Youth Risks Behavior Survey and the Massachusetts Youth Survey that was put out, that our high school students put in. So we're going to have a lot of data to be able to look at and use. So I think tonight I'll just show you a little bit of the vocal, but that there's more data coming your way in future meetings to share with what we're learning from those surveys. So like what we learn as part of our work as Danvers Cares Committee is to dig into those surveys and find out where do we really need to focus our efforts on. So we're looking forward to doing that. So here's what we got as far as data, is district-wide data on the school climate measures. So under engagement, you can see we had a score of 51 on that, and it's right there with the state average. And usually what they say, that when you hit a benchmark of around 50, they say that your school climate is somewhat favorable to favorable school climate. So that was kind of a score that we had, and you can see across the line that's where we are at. And they have I'll show you, they have a little rubric here that helps you look at that, and we will, as administrators, be looking more deeply about the indicators in that rubric. But in safety, we're 51, the state was 50, and then environment, we were 52, and the state was 53. Now we can and we will present to you data from the schools, and then show that. As you may imagine, the data that's reported from students is more favorable at the elementary level, and then as you move up to middle and high school, those go down. So my goal for this year is to really have each school move, at least one dimension, move up into that dimension from where they are at. So we'll have more of that data for you. And then also under each goal, under the vocal data, I picked out like certain questions that students were asked, and they were questions that there are lots of questions on there, and in some ways I feel remiss, and I want to show you more of the data that we were doing well. We were like 90%, 85%. We had really high scores on it. The ones I'm picking out for this measure are the ones that we were struggling with. So I feel like here on the safe and supportive learning communities, the 2 that I picked out that we had to do some work in is teachers, students, and the principal work together to stop bullying. So you can see at the elementary 93, grade 5 96, grade 8 70, and then grade 10 85. So those were, those are good reports from students, but we still have some work to do. And then finally, the students at school try to stop bullying when they see it happening, and that's where those scores are a little bit lower, 79% in grade 5. Grade 4, they didn't ask that question, or they asked it in a different way, so I didn't put that on here. And grade 8 was 51%, and grade 10, 39%. So I think this is where we got to, and you saw as we presented to you, and some of the incidents that were happening, is getting to being the upstander and working with kids to stop being bystanders and watching this all go. So how do you be those upstanders? And kind of, you'll see that that's linked into our work in the Project Talk and in Community Block. And we started doing that work. It's also in the work, the elementary, taking the ADL curriculum and linking it with our Open Circle SEL curriculum, and you'll see more of that happening there as well. Goal 2 is curriculum instruction assessment. That's to come in October when we have right now the MCAS results are embargoed, but they will be released, and that's when we'll present them as October. But here's where we were in 2021, and this is just, again, district level data. We'll get into more of the school level data in October, but 50% we were at ELA, and the state was at 46%, and then in math we were at 37%, and the state was at 34%. So we're looking to see how we do in 2022. 2021 was a weird year. Remember, the last full MCAS we actually had was in 2019. In 2020 there was none because no one was in school. We were out remote. And then in 2021 one, we got a modified one where instead of having 2 sessions of the MCAS, we only had 1. So it was not as robust of a full assessment. So this coming back in 2022 is the full assessment that we're going to do. And I think that's when you're hearing the national reports from the NAEP where the kids really struggled. You've heard that is because that was the first year of like a fuller assessment of our students. So that's to come in October. So, but there were also interesting pieces that came out of the survey. And again, I took the areas that we need to do some improvement in it. And I could show you that there's many that were in the 80s and 90 percentiles. But the one I pulled is in academic classes, students wrestle with problems that don't have an obvious answer. So that's that deep critical thinking. So we're in the 60s there in grade 8 and 10. In my classes, mistakes or even failure on assignment are viewed as an important part of learning. Only grade 10 assessed this, which I was disappointed in. So I feel like that is something that growth mindset, we've been doing a lot of work on that, but we still have a little more work to do. The things I'm learning in school have relevance or are relevant to me, and so that's what we're working in. Again, at the middle and high school, that's when they're more independent thinkers, and they're really struggling to understand that we're teaching them the basics, but then we also have to work on that engagement piece where it has meaning to them. And then my teachers support me even when my work is not my best, and I kind of get to that formative assessment cycle and working on that, and I feel like there were stronger responses to that, but again, we can improve in that area. And then our third goal is diversity, equity, and inclusion. I set one where we're working with the Culturally Responsive Practices Leadership Academy. We started working with them last year on the equity tool. So one of the goals is to start really using that equity tool to plan some of our policies. So that's not really, the measure is that we actually do that. But then more measurable here was some things from the vocal data that I put out. One is I feel as though I belong in my school community. So in grade 10, it was 79%. And at grade 4 and 5, they asked a question was about, are you happy at school? So that was, they were happy at school, 92%. And for some reason, there wasn't really a question at the 8th grade level on that. I feel comfortable reaching out to a teacher / counselors for emotional support if I need it. You can see that we're in the 70s in the elementary level, and then grade 8 and 10. Again, as parents, you can see too, they start to be more independent away from you. Same thing in middle school and high school is finding that trusted adult, and that's why we're doing the project talk and the community block to find those trusted adults that they can reach out to. And then students from different backgrounds respect each other in our school, regardless of their race, culture, family, income, religion, sex, or sexual orientation. And in grade 8 and 10, we're in the 70%. Again, hopefully the work we're doing both in our curriculum and then in those blocks, we'll see some improvement there. And then finally, my professional practice goal is to work on that framework with the administrative team. So when I am meeting with them, that I will spend at least when we meet as administrators, you can really get lost in those details of like the operations and really making sure that, out of our hour-and-a-half meeting, that half of it, 45 minutes, is spent on tackling with the sense of belonging framework and really working on as the school climate issues that we want to work on, but spending the bulk of that time focused on that work. That's
No, I don't have any questions. I mean, I don't, we've been talking a lot about this, so and I'm curious to see once the results are no longer embargoed, what, because we haven't had a normal year in several years, so.
I like how you're attaching your goals to some of the data, and that's going to be able to be trackable as well. I mean, I think data always just tells such interesting stories, and just trying to pull out those insights, I think it'll give you really focus on those places to put your efforts and place your efforts on. So I do think having the framework is very valuable because it's a good just checkpoint throughout. So no questions necessarily.
Okay. Jeff?
Yeah, I think most of what you've listed gets at the heart of some of the issues that we're looking at. So, I think some of the numbers are tough, right? They're surveys, they're what do people feel, and but some are actual numbers that are coming from the state too, which is going to be another debate, I'm sure, for y'all for years. But I mean, I think they're a good balance for right now, and as we go through the school year, if the committee hears of other things that come up, I'm sure they can be sort of added as the time goes on, but I think they're a good balance for right now.
Okay.
Looking forward to seeing more data. It, seems to be in a vacuum. I'd love to see like peer analysis, regional differentiation, things like that. I'll just hold my questions till we can see more data.
Right. Yeah, I think it's ambitious and sensible, I would say. And so I think you've got your focus in the right place. So I know you've got supportive people beside you and behind you to help make all this happen. Thanks. All right, we are going to move on to, I'm excited to hear this, our order of business superintendent search update.
Yeah, so Alice and I met with the MASC, I guess consultant Dorothy on Friday.
With the person.
Yes, we're actually going to have weekly meetings with her for the foreseeable future to ask for help and update. So I think the really big thing that really got taken out of this, because I think some of the community feedback was, why do you have to hire a consultant? We're really looking at the purpose of having a consultant is because we're asking for the community feedback to really create the profile for this kind of superintendent we want next. So Mary, I don't know if you can just, okay, all right, I don't know if you remembered. So we had kind of updated based on our meeting on Friday, a little bit more in-depth and updated of the timeline. So there is going to be opportunities for every single member to provide feedback in some form, whether it's through a focus group, an online survey, in person. And to be honest with you, we're not going to be at a lot of those focus group meetings because it should be objective, and we don't want, we don't want the school committee to determine what people will say or influence. So also that's why we are also having a consultant, because it should be objective, and that's really going to paint the picture of what you all are looking for in a next superintendent. The community,
Yeah,
everyone,
We've heard some concerns with the consultant, and I think what we want to make sure to get across with the community is that this is our search, right? This is our district search. This is no hidden agenda. This is no one trying to place someone within our district with political motives. This is based on what we're going to hear from the community and from the focus groups. So everyone will have an opportunity to partake in providing that type of feedback to create a job description of what we're looking for. So this is not, I want to put that out there to kind of ease any of those concerns as well.
Yeah, and we'll have more information after we meet Wednesday, but we are going to, Mary, once we do that, when you send out like your updates, or when the schools, the newsletters, like there will be links that we ask, or like information about when the focus groups, if you could just put that out, and then we'll talk to town hall about if they can update that on their website too, because I think, the more people who come, the better.
And the local press, right?
Yeah, like anywhere, we're gonna really look to advertise it.
It's not like you have to have a student, like a community members,
or any type of community member. Yeah. But it will be coming up. I mean, we're looking at sometime, the first sort of feedback with the focus groups will be, or online will be between September 26th and October 7th. So they should, the community wants to be aware and be on the lookout for that. And every single applicant will have to apply. I know that was a question too, again, there is a protocol, the procedure, everything's done legally through policy. We had a lot of questions, Eric, about that. So we just want to get that cleared up.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, I cannot imagine a select board or school committee who would not work with a consultant who helps develop the profile that we're looking for, but also helps in terms of the profile of our district for interested superintendents. It's too important a job that you wouldn't get help with people who do this all the time, sort of know the lay of the land, people who are available. It helps with the district's credibility, I think, and helps you find the right person. So you're doing exactly the right thing. There's no question.
I think people were just also confused because it's been so long, right, since the district has had to hire someone, that they probably didn't know the process.
But yeah, we
So-
did, we used a consultant then, and it was extremely helpful.
Yeah, I would be concerned if we didn't have one.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Any other questions for the subcommittee?
There is also one
Oh,
thing.
sure, I'm sorry, please.
For the screening committee.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
you wanna add to that?
Yeah, so for the screening committee, we would look for those that are interested in participating as a screening committee member. So those would be members who would review resumes and applications, be a little bit more closer in that interview process to follow up with myself, Robin,
Yeah.
Mary. You know, if you are interested with, you know, why you're interested in perhaps some of your qualifications on why you would make a good member of that committee.
Yeah. After the application is, the deadline is completed. So yeah, so you can reach out to one of us. Yeah.
Jeff or Gabe, questions?
Oh, it looks pretty solid. It's nice to have a timeline so that everybody can kind of see
Yeah.
when everything. So December 2nd, that's it. Deadlines, applications are due. So
No, it sounds like you're on the right path. And thank you for all the work that you do. I know it's hard work to do this, believe me, and appreciate it. All right. Consent agenda, which is homeschool requests, fundraising requests, and personnel memo. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Discussion on any items on the agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none carries. Minutes, Madam Secretary.
The secretary approves to approve and release the minutes from the August 22nd, 2022 regular meeting and the August 30th, 2022 special meeting.
Okay, so that's a motion.
Yes, moves
Okay.
to approve, yeah.
And is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's a vote. Communications. Eric?
Yes, so the first meeting for the NEC Board of Directors is on Wednesday, so I will have a report for you in October. Or a meeting in person.
Legislation. Legislature is not in session. Everybody knows the results of the primaries last week. So there's nothing pending right at the moment, but it'll be an exciting fall into November, no question. Subcommittee liaisons, curriculum and assessment and equity. Have you guys met since all that? No.
No, I think, and I work with the curriculum directors to get 3 dates, so I will send that out to, I guess, Allison and Robin.
We don't have anything on Essex Tech tonight. Policy, I think you've said you want to get us together to look at a couple of new policies soon.
In October, yeah, maybe the beginning of October.
Okay, so we'll get some dates for that. Any information on D? Mary Beth, was it Mary Beth?
Yeah, Mary
Very,
Beth,
you sent
yes.
an
Yeah.
update.
So the first meeting is on September 21st, so a week from Wednesday at 8 a.m. at the Brookline Bank. And I have to get the date, the wine tasting, I think it's October 27th, if I have that right.
Okay, so we have that date?
Yeah.
I'm just hunting for her email.
Pretty sure it's October. Mary Beth's probably screaming at the TV right now. Sorry, Mary Beth.
October 27th, 6 to 9.
I should have trusted myself.
Tickets to be on sale soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Good.
Danvers Cares.
Danvers Cares, I told you, we're, today would have been the first meeting, but we didn't have enough time to do that. So we have the 2 big data sets that we're kind of culling through now so that we can have pertinent data for the group to look at and really help us decide exactly our focus for the school year.
Great. Cpac, we've heard about. Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion took the summer off, as many of us did, and our first meeting is actually this Thursday. I think they're asking liaisons to give them a little information ahead of the meeting so that they can be prepared to ask questions. So I'll be doing that. And but I'm looking forward to working with him again this year. And the rest of my agenda is blank. Is that what,
Yep.
is
Yeah, I
that it?
think
We are
that's it.
done?
We are done, yes.
Wow, we are done. Our next meeting is October 17th. And unless we need a special meeting in between, which I know you all like, or don't.
You will probably have to have one depending on who applies.
It is possible, yes. So, with that, Jeff, would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, the only discussion is if things go as planned, Jeff, it has been a pleasure and we wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And if there's a way I can somehow scotch your closing, I'll try and do it.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
And with that, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carries. Thank you, Danvers.
Thank you.
Thank you.